Hi, I'm Tom with Composite Designs. You might be wondering what this is. This right here is a 1-inch scale model train, strong enough to pull 2 adults or on an outdoor track. But it's missing a roof. So follow along in this multi-part series where we show you how we build the plug, the mold, and then the final piece to complete this project. So the first thing we're going to do is we cut out a piece of MDF. This is going to be our base. Everything's going to be attached to this. We're going to go ahead and seal it on the edges and the top and the bottom to prevent any of the moisture and chemicals from the Hydrocal or the other molding processes that we're going to have to do on this to keep it from getting in and degrading the MDF. Once that's done, we need to go into CAD and look at our maiden drawing, and we need to account for the material thickness of the finished piece for the skin mold that we're going to make. So we're just going to take our profile, offset at that thickness, and print it out 1:1, and then we're going to use that to cut out our side profile pieces. Okay, so we've gone ahead and printed this out, and we're going to go ahead and measure our marks. They should be 1 inch, and they are. It's a good way to tell you that you got it right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this out because we need to mount it to our boards that we're going to cut out to form the pattern. Really, we don't need to cut the whole thing out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on this line and leave a bunch extra here, and then we will spray glue this to the wood. We've gone ahead and done that. Get this out of the way. Just trim the edges up a bit here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some 3M adhesive, and we are going to spray a little bit on here and a little bit on the back sides of those and let them tack up a bit. This stuff is actually marvelous stuff. Now we're going to put it right on the edge. In this case, it's close enough. We're just going to use the factory edge for it. You put it on when it's still wet. You can still kind of maneuver it. If you let it tack up on both sides, when it goes down like there, it just went down and it is now down. So line it up as best as you can. And once it's on, make sure there's no air bubbles. And we are going to go ahead and let that dry. So we've gone ahead, the glue's dried, and we have clamped it to the table. We got to cut out 2 of them. We're going to use a jigsaw for this, nothing fancy. We're just going to cut right on the outside of the line because the profile we want's on the inside. We might leave a little bit and then run over to the belt sander and clean it up to even them out. But that's all we're going to do here. Nothing fancy. The one thing I do want to point out, you're using power tools, definitely safety glasses, and I would also recommend ear protection. Yeah, we couldn't get as close as I wanted, so what we're going to do, as you can see there's that space, we'll take that over. When we're done, we'll hit it quickly on the belt sander. We may even screw both of them together or clamp both of them together, then they're perfect. They'll be perfectly shaped together. So let's flip this around. So what we will do is we'll take them like that. We'll go ahead and get them even and clamp them. And or actually, I don't know. I think I might actually sand them separately. They're close enough to the line, it shouldn't be a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll catch you back up. So we got our 2 pieces. We're just using the same sealer we were using before. We're going to go ahead and give it a nice coating. What we're really trying to prevent is the moisture from the Hydrocal soaking into the wood. Okay, so the next step is, this is the base that we took earlier. We sealed it. Now that it's sealed and all ready to go, there are some spots in it. We'll sand them out later. We're going to sand the whole thing and give it one final coating after we've done everything before we actually turn it into a mold. So I've gone ahead and taken some measurements and done some math, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mark out everything that we need, all the lines that we need and everything like that for this particular project. So now we have where we're going to put our edges to run the scraper over to form our roof. So let's get on to that part. Okay, so we've gone ahead. These are sealed, and the game plan now is we're going to actually attach them to these, and then we'll use those to screw them down to the final piece. These eventually will be removed, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and use these basically as a bracket, temporary bracket to hold them into place. So let's go ahead and figure this out. As you can see, it needed to be shorter than the end because we didn't want it to interfere with this profile here. So basically we're going to hold this down on there, and I have a drill here with a countersink for some wood screws. I guess we're just going to end up holding it here, but we're going to put a couple screws in. So that's we're done. We're going to we'll end up doing something over those, and honestly, even if the plaster does leave those indentations, we can sand it right out when we're done, and we're going to have a little touch up we're going to have to do on this thing anyway, so I'm not too worried about that at this point. Okay, so now we got those made and mounted up. We need to mount them on the board. What we're going to do is we're going to line this edge up with this line that we have here, and we're going to line this edge up with this one with that same line. Then we'll line the front edge here with our perpendicular line here, and the same there. What this allows us to do is, in the end, we're going to go ahead and put all of the plaster and Hydrocal in there, and it will stay in that position, so when we remove these, that will be the length of the final piece that we want. So we're going to line this up, line the edge up, and this is where it gets, I don't want to say it's tricky, but the more time you spend, the better your end result is going to be. So once we get it where we like it, and I like that, we're going to go ahead and put a couple of screws in. These are just regular old wood screws, same as we used before. So that one's in place. Now we'll go over here and do the same thing. We're going to line this edge up with our line here, and we're going to line this edge up with our line there. Very little gap. If you're really worried about it, you could fill it in with clay or something like that. I'm not too worried about it at this point. So that is going to be the outline of our roof. Now the one thing I do want to do is I'm going to put some screws in here, because when we fill this to the plaster, there's nothing for it to hold to. So I'm going to take some longer screws and go ahead and just drill some screws in there, 7 or 8, that are below this point, so they'll be hidden, but it'll give the Hydrocal plaster, whichever we use, something to anchor into. So this isn't exactly the straightest thing in the world. We're just going to grab a piece of wood we have sitting here And as you can see, it's nowhere near our edge. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get a nice straight edge. We don't mind. And we're going to keep doing that with the plaster and the Hydrocal, and doing our best to keep it set and make our shape. So got a couple more things to do before we do that, but let's move on. So we're going to stop right there, and be sure to follow along on the next episode where we continue on with the plug and finish that up. If you like these how-to series, be sure to subscribe and check the additional information down in the description box. See you then.